did you go to school?
And here's your...
What do you think of what's going on right now, mate?
These evil little invisible parasites.
Satan-worshipping Freemason moron.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
We're not run by factions.
Get the fuck out of camera!
There are much more powerful international forces in play.
Is this pink eye? Is this what pink eye is? I don't fucking know what's happening.
Please go outside and look at the moon quickly.
It's been crazy, guys, but guess what? It's how it is, mate.
Mate, because I want to do it slowly.
But I ain't spending any time on it.
Welcome to the Conditional Release Program, a podcast that delves into the netherworld of cults, crims, and con artists. I'm Jack the Insider, otherwise known as Peter Hoisted for tax purposes.
And I'm Joel Hill, and through tired eyes and a general sense of malaise, we are talking about the first 100 hours of the 45th and 47th POTUS, Donald J. fucking Trump.
We're supposed to be raising the spirits of our listeners, dear Joel. You're not really helping out. We're actually not quite into the first 100 hours of Trump's second term, although
that's when Ukraine's fixed.
Yes, it certainly should. I think that was a day, really. That was the first 24. But we're not quite into the first 100 hours of Trump's second term, although for some of our listeners, it might feel like 100 years. We know how you're feeling.
Oh, yeah.
But look, and let's face it is the conservative version of the Khmer Rouge rolling in a Phnom Penh. What's this over here? And then there's just a bunch of people standing around going, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm hoping I'll make some money out of it.
If I kill this guy with glasses, he'll notice me. Cool. Oh, look, it is a difficult time, and we are going to raise your spirits. I'm just exhausted because I've had a lot going on in the last few weeks. But look, we just need to basically just look through what's happened in the last day, what happened in the inauguration, and speculate, but generally see where this all might lead. Because it's going somewhere, probably bad, but probably funny as well.
But for all you suffering anxiety, or some good news, the Trump shit show has got a use-by date, and
yes,
it will have that within, I'm guessing, 6 months, maybe 12. Of course, there are caveats, including one where we all die horribly in a nuclear holocaust, which I admit would be a bummer. You know, good cause to be anxious about that. Anyway, in the meantime, we should all drink heavily to take the pain away, and Joel has some excellent news on that front.
Yes, I do. Firstly, I'm closer to the likely blast radius than you because I'm closer to the CBD, which is good. So nuclear war, quick and easy for me. You're going to have that weird scaly skin shit. Yeah. And going on from there. Yeah, well, it's going to get worse. At least you're older. You've had more fun. Look, I do have good news on this. For those who are new to the podcast or just haven't been listening to the intro, we have a discount code for delicious beers from our good friends at CBCo. And for those who need to hear it again, it is CRP10. It will get you 10% off their already very decent prices. But on a serious note, we need to be serious. It's a very serious time. It is important to resist the Trump administration in all ways. You need to fight back. And that includes drinking. I know that sounds crazy, but Trump doesn't drink. And the reasons why aren't funny, so I'm not going to go into that. That's sad. But if there's anything that will get under Trump's skin right now, it is the thought of you cracking a delicious CBCo tin. So stick it up, old mate orange jets, really getting yourself a slab of CBCo beer. Fuck yeah. Look, if you don't do it, you are supporting a neo-fascist oligarchy. How are you gonna sit with that? How do you sit with that? How do you sleep at night? Well, you sleep if you drink beer because you get all tired.
Where would you be when justice arrives?
Yeah, exactly. When Jesus comes back and it's like, did you use the CRP10 code? And you're like, nah. And then you go to hell. Don't fucking blame me. I warned you.
Look, we love sweet liquor, the giver and taker away of pain, depending on how bad your hangovers are.
So bad.
But that's enough talk about lovely things like beer. It's Trump time and everything is going to shit. P.S. It won't last.
I still haven't worked it out yet. And if you haven't worked it out, keep asking the question. And keep looking for the answers. Because it's irrelevant.
And we didn't even get to the inauguration before Donald Trump and his wife Melania were on the grift with some pump and dump crypto scam. Or to be specific, pump and dump crypto meme coin scam. Mm-hmm. Essentially worthless product, which is bound to end up actually worthless in about 4 years' time.
Yeah, all part thereof.
Give or take. Yeah, give or take.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty sad. We've got the crypto bros who are just incredibly upset because they love releasing these like ridiculous projects that, It's under the guise of some kind of use case, something blockchain. We're going to revolutionize the way we buy drugs or sell shitty artwork or fucking download MP3s from Napster or some shit. Who cares? It's never anything useful. What it really is people wanting to make money from nothing, but have some sort of pithy fucking story behind it. So it's not.
Make it.
But the thing is, it's not just the kleptocrats and cooked crypto fuckwits who are making money from this. And of course, Trump and the rest. Men of God joining in the bountiful plains of crypto scams with Detroit pastor Reverend Lorenzo Sewell, a man of the law who spoke passionately at the inauguration. I didn't bother listening to or watching that. He's done a pump and dump, and he's done a rug pull in the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus, on cryptocurrency, you. Okay, cool. So this,
God bless him.
all right. So do you want to read this shameless dickhead's tweet?
Yeah, well, this is what the good Reverend had to say. The crypto community was kind enough to send me Lorenzo. So who said this? Trump or Lorenzo?
The guy, yeah.
So
Kind
that's
of
what his
send me
crypto's called.
Lorenzo. He can't punctuate. That's the problem. There should have been a comma there.
Sorry. Yeah, okay. You should have read it. Anyway,
I probably
the
should have.
crypto community was kind enough to send me Lorenzo, so I have permanently locked my tokens into a liquidity pool so that I will never sell on the community, but rather just earn fees as our token continues to flourish.
So that is
yours in Christ.
It's actually an important note there, the idea of the fees, and I'll come back to that later. But unfortunately, the situation here is that the fees being a moneymaker relies on a lot of market transactions. And unfortunately, Lorenzo Sewell has the pulling power of a vacuum cleaner from Temu, and it failed to gain the traction that would make him really any kind of money that would do.
There is no God.
It's ridiculous. You pray on it and you hope for the best. And then all of a sudden you realize that no one actually gives a fuck about you. So it managed to get around 4.5 million market cap, which is not too bad, all things considered, because who the fuck is this guy? Before shitting the bed and going to nothing, as usual, rug pull style. A couple of traders made six figures. According to the blockchain records, which are public, one blessed soul lost $120,000, which is half of his investment. Lordy. What a fucking idiot. Trying to capitalize on one of what we could say is the dumbest rug pulls in crypto history. But hey, look, if Trump could do it, right? But that is a big caveat there. I'm saying the biggest, dumbest rug pull yet, because we haven't seen Eric Coin. That's going to be even fucking worse. But it might actually work.
It sort of rubs off. I know it has no physical form, but it will still rub off on your fingers and cause you a nasty rash.
Detritus in your hands. It's just so
But
pathetic.
back to the actual scam, Joel. Trump coin.
Oh, it's great. So basically, when it comes down to it, Cook is using Trump to make actual coin scams on the back of this is not surprising anyone. You've got all these Telegram posts being like, buy Trump coin here. You don't actually buy Trump coin there. It just goes to their website, which they steal your money. So that's happening.
They're just getting the clicks that way. Yeah.
No. People are going and giving them money and they're saying, here's your Trump coin. There's no actual Trump coin there.
Oh, so if you've got a big following, you can get on the bandwagon.
Not even a big following. Idiots are fucking everywhere, and these bots just post to Telegram, unmoderated Telegram channels, and you click on them and it goes to a payment portal.
Possibly go wrong there, Joel.
Or, of course, they've got other coins that they claim are Trump coins, but actually different coins that actually do exist in the blockchain, because it's not hard to make Solana coin.
Not just Trump coin, though. There's Melania coin.
There is.
It's just really tanked in the last 24 hours, basically.
But it also stole a lot of volume from Trump coin, because when Melania coin was announced, Trump coin plummeted. And the thing that was funny about that is that basically what happened was when it got announced, there was a real confusion as to whether Melania coin was the first of second cousin Derek coin of just the Trump dynasty.
It's almost Eric coin, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Eric is going to be the last one, of course, as usual. But also, I think just people were basically thinking, okay, well, I've got a Trump coin. This is 24 hours or 48 hours old or whatever. The Melania coin is 4 hours old. I'll jump on the bottom of this. But of course, just like a dashing fashion, it's sort of going nowhere, and all it's really doing is just trying to stop Trump from getting anywhere. So
it gave him a paper gain, if you want to call it that, of 54 billion.
Oh, I'll argue that though. I would say no.
I'm just talking about, your media graphic, which I always tell people not to trust.
Yes, exactly.
That he's showing his personal wealth and then with his enormous chunk of $50-odd billion on the basis of the value of the meme coin.
Which isn't going to stick. But so you've got the initial
I get that.
and then you can't sell a lot of it, because all these things, just like the good Reverend was saying, that his coins are locked. And that's one of those ways of saying this isn't a rug pull because the coins are locked. But of course, they control the transactions and they get the fees.
They're essentially the bank who have no reporting functions or
exactly. So they say, we can't do a rug pull because we've got all these bits locked. I think it's basically locked for 2 more years, and there's a possibility Trump coin will maintain it as like a sort of money laundering type thing, buying influence, things like that. You can show your transaction on the blockchain, so you can sort of prove it. Go, look, I bought $1 million in Trump coin, but a lot of people will just be doing volatile trades. It's really hard to know how that's going to work. When it comes down to it, a lot of the money has gone to volatile crypto bro traders who jumped in early and sold out quickly. But realistically, the real winners are the ones who are the insiders who knew at the coin from the very start, gone in at ground floor, and then basically sold before, Melania turned up and ruined everything. But the gains that Trump have realized are the ones that the good Reverend were talking about, the transaction fees, because he owns a company running the transactions. He's basically running this whole scam, and the crypto comes with massive fees. So apparently it's around 50 million so far in transaction fees. And if he walks out with that, $50 million for doing nothing but, tarnishing his good name, which I guess isn't really possible at this point. Anyway, so I'm not sure if this is actually going to end up being a funnel for blatant corruption, but if it does, it could make a few $1 billion in the end, but it's very unlikely it's going to reach something.
Melania coin has really tanked, hasn't it? I mean, it's just shit.
I haven't really checked. I can have a look now, but I just assume that it's gone up and nowhere, because it's such a joke of a concept. It's surely going nowhere. So Melania coin. And then can we go value? Because it's all just mainstream media stuff being upset. Yeah, coin market cap, here we go. So I've got a graph coming. I actually stayed kind of stable.
She would make more money on OnlyFans than Donald, but
yeah, she would. Okay, it went up to it.
But in this respect, not that she would have been extended in any way, shape or form financially on this arrangement, but yeah, it is tanked. If you could have bought Melania coin at $7.40.
Yes.
It's now sitting below $4. So sorry, that was an issue price of $7.40. It went up briefly, and now
it did
half its original or its launch value.
And that was the pump. You get out during the pump, but people would have assumed it was going to go further. People just aren't made for this shit, and yeah, a lot of people lost money. The main money on this one, just like anything, would be the transaction fees, which they would have made really decent money on.
Yeah, she's like over $50 million in transaction fees alone for the
Trump coin,
for the Trump meme coin.
A few for Melania, but still, it's all going in the pocket.
A couple of days' work, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe he can, try and buy some sex from her, because apparently it seems like she's not really interested.
Well, we don't know that.
Well, that hat was a protection.
We don't know that.
Donald Trump
has been noticeably absent, or had been noticeably absent throughout the campaign. She has been quite prominent since the inauguration. And one suspects she's going, "You beauty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to clean the shit house anymore." That wouldn't be like that, but she becomes a very powerful person herself in her own right.
Yeah, I mean, if she did a Mackenzie Scott Bezos, I'd be amazed. But the idea of her being a billionaire philanthropist just makes me laugh. I don't care, do you? No, you don't.
A bit of trouble in paradise, Joel. Crypto-wise. So I was interested to read the outgoing SEC chair, Gary Gensler's take on crypto. So he'd always been very anti-Joe. Things, he'd always say, look, there are no reporting requirements. We just talk about that any sort of statutory responsibilities from even the crypto exchanges and all this stuff.
Yeah,
and he said, what we're trying to do is enforce the laws at hand. This is last year, and I would note that this is a field with a lot of fraudsters, a lot of grifters, and a lot of scams.
Yeah,
and that's Gender, and it was kind of always thought that Gensler would be replaced by someone who was pro crypto.
I'm still
it hasn't really happened, and Bitcoin and pretty much every cryptocurrency is down today.
Okay.
It was said because they didn't get a mention in the Trumpster's address. And
he's too busy pushing his own money, I suppose.
Well, he's got meme coin to sell, Joel.
Sure.
In fact, Gressler will be replaced by another SEC bod, Mark Ueda. There have been a number of other suggestions for the nomination, and they were all pro-crypto. Ueda, I would think, is a fence-sitter at best. When he's the first Asian American to hold the position. And he has a wealth of support from across the political divide. He was actually a Biden appointee too, as an assistant to the SEC.
Okay.
So by any sort of measure, it's almost irrational, and thus very strange appointment in the Trump administration. And it's actually a good one, but I don't know how Ueda will get on with the crypto con going on around him. He might not last very long. And look, crypto's due. Scott Bessent, Joel, that's Trump's Treasury Secretary pick.
Okay.
He's got to go through a process, but Scott Bessent is a hedge fund dealer in Wall Street.
Okay.
I mean, fairly bright guy.
Have to be, but yeah. Also beautiful, but yeah.
And here's this is going to blow Cooker minds apart. He was mentored by George Soros.
Oh, he was a partner at Soros Fund Management. Wow. That is going to go down like a lead fuck in the sock.
There you go. It's actually, I think, a good appointment. Again, like Ueda and the SEC, you just wonder how these guys are going to get on. And if we do look at Trump's first administration, well, there were a lot of people who came and went quite quickly.
Yeah, and he's also gay. So he will be the first openly gay Secretary of the Treasury.
Mm.
What a world. There you go.
Yeah, look, it's going to be amazing. So once people have a good look up and down at Scott Bessent, they're going to go, well.
This isn't Mark.
And the red hat wearers it's going to furrow a few brows, isn't it?
Soros and gay. I mean, what more do you need? I'm sure there's more, but they don't need any more. Yeah.
Credit where it's due. They're actually good nominations.
Yeah.
Both of those. Yeah. Anyway.
I'm not a huge fan of hedge fund managers, but I'm sure he's an okay guy, as far as things go.
George Soros. George Soros made him the man he is today.
Brilliant.
He's working on the inside.
Yeah, it's one little bit of good news. That's nice. So there has also been a set of sweeping pardons before old Biden exited stage left, or is this?
Is it your left or is it?
Well, it's all
my right.
No.
I'm just going over here to lie down.
Lefty loosey, righty tighty. I don't know. No, he's all right. But yeah, he preemptively pardoned his own family at like the last minute, which, to be honest, I think is completely reasonable considering the fact that there are psychos running the show right now. And people like Mark Milley, the J6 committee, all those people that Trump liked to yell and scream about because, Liz Cheney, Fauci was pardoned, which cookers are loving. So like, oh, it's a sign of guilt. Rand Paul saying, he's guilty. Like, these fucking cunts. But it's all predictable stuff that no one really cares about because, like, duh. And yeah, I mean, there was a bunch of pardons at the very last minute, and they were basically for the obvious reason of, Elon Musk had his pronouns as prosecute Fauci on Twitter. I think we might want to just maybe give him a pardon because there's a really weird cunt trying to use this to distract people from stealing all their money.
Another way of looking at this, Joel, and this should please you, is that we could say Hunter Biden's penis will now roam free forever.
Oh, well, it
will never be locked up.
No, this is exactly. But the problem is that all the people who said that the Hunter Biden laptop may very well be a Russian psyop type thing, they have all had their security clearance pulled by Trump with the executive orders. Now, I, as a strong advocate of Hunter Biden's penis, was hoping Trump would forget about the penis because I'm worried that this penis could be the first thing in the history of penises that is scrubbed from the internet entirely. And now I'm not very good with computers. I don't know how to save pictures. I need my access to Hunter Biden's hog. Otherwise, I will not know sexuality ever again. So there is a lot on the line for me. I've started to be personally affected by this outside of the $8,000 I lost on Kamala losing like a fucking idiot. So yeah, I just want to extend myself into this conversation, center myself as a point of harm because Hunter Biden's penis means a lot to me.
I think it's all looking good, Joel.
I reckon you got what you wanted from that.
Will roam free. And
I hope so,
as it should.
I hope so because that is free speech.
It should not be put in a cage.
That chonky hog is a form of free speech.
Yeah,
the revenge porn.
There's some odd sort of reporting on this from our old mate at news.com.au, Frankie Chang, and he quoted someone or other that I didn't read in the article describing the pardons as grotesque.
Wasn't it Glenn Greenwald?
Okay. It might have been his long quote. Fair point.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. But who cares what that guy says? Another gay dude who was the most disappointing gay man in history.
Thought Glenn Greenwald objective.
No. He is a Putin simp, and someone has a video of him eating someone's poo, and that's why he went weird. I'm sure of it. There's got to be a poo video.
Probably.
There's got to be. Because otherwise, what happened to that guy? Anyway, we could do an entire episode on that guy. He's an asshole. So, yeah, when it comes to Mr. Biden saying his little statement announcing the pardons of Dr. Fauci and Mr. Milley, members of the U.S. House Committee that investigated January 6th, as I said, he said, quote, I believe in the rule of law and I'm optimistic that the strength of our legal institutions will ultimately prevail over politics. But there had to be a but after that, because you're like, what are you talking about? Trump-appointed judges? But these are exceptional circumstances, and I cannot in good conscience do nothing, he said. These public servants have served our nation with honor and distinction and do not deserve to be the targets of unjustified and politically motivated prosecutions. And that's good because apparently, despite the fact that most of these things concern federal offenses, the good people of Florida, under the watchful eye of DeSantis, are trying to find state-based offenses to charge them with. And they're all rallying around the idea of deposing them to Senate inquiries, where apparently now they say, and this is so tenuous, the idea that they can't plead the fifth anymore because it's not incriminating means they have to speak the truth.
Come on. This is kind of all nonsense.
It's bullshit.
We haven't seen it. So you just can't say it. We haven't seen it.
No, it's like it's speculation. It's fucking absurd.
Yeah,
this is
don't think
getting
that,
flooded with shit.
I think if anyone has learned anything over the last 12 months, it's these things really suck with the public. So I think if they really did go after, let's say, the Biden family or Cheney, as Trump has often said, but he's full of bluster. You need to wait and see. I don't think it's going to be that sort of thing, because it would mean essentially a DOJ investigation and charges laid against her, and that's not going to happen.
It can't be DOJ now,
because they haven't got a secretary, or they haven't got an attorney general yet.
Well, yes, there's also the fact that the pardon exists, but states can still go after her if they find some sort of arbitrary thing to sue her over, and that's the thing he was trying to protect him from. He was saying that, like, basically, I don't think you're going to be found guilty of anything. I just think that the process is a punishment, and being hounded by law enforcement agencies and sued into oblivion for things that are completely ridiculous is just going to consume your life. But like, there will be civil suits, there will be criminal suits from states. They're going to try and ruin these people's lives. This is a part of the reason why the fascist regime is getting so much toe licking, because anyone who doesn't kiss the ring is standing to be sued or prosecuted on trumped up things that may or may not eventuate, but will cost tens, if not hundreds of thousands to defend. That's the threat. And it's a very, very reasonable threat.
Look, it's a threat, but it hasn't been realised. We can only deal
but it's a reasonable
with
threat.
What we've got. I mean, look, you're not a journalist, so you don't understand that principle. You can actually only report on what's happened so far. We're just days into the Trump.
I would
Trump
argue that.
presidency.
I would strongly argue that.
And a lot of this,
refute the shit of that.
I mean, what I've seen so far is performative, and as it was in 2017, there's no huge surprises here. There are.
It imitates art. The idea that these kind of threats from Trump being hollow mean that others can't follow through as a way of showing fealty, or even just doing it just for clout. The idea that people aren't going to launch civil suits against people like Liz Cheney to tie her up in court over vexatious bullshit claims. The idea that states won't find some kind of arbitrary prosecution to use to tie her up in defending these claims against, just nonsense. Knowing they'll lose. How do you say that's impossible?
Basically, the way I would look at this is, what evidence do you have that the state of Wyoming, the state which she has represented in politics, would pursue her for some offence or other?
Sure. I'm just going by the fact that this is the reasoning that the what's that guy? The outgoing president of the United States of America applied to the pardoning that he just did. So I don't feel like I'm alone in speculating on this, because I'm kind of with the guy who just left the Oval Office. So I think all agree with that at all. I get your journalism.
Yes, it has to. You have to deal with what.
Sure. But
with
this
what
is not unfounded
basically
speculation.
occurred.
This is something that has been proposed as a problem by the outgoing president of the United States of America. I do not stand by the idea that due to the fact that I haven't worked at a newspaper, that I don't know what I'm talking about in that regard. I refute that entirely.
I'm just saying that you're suggesting something that hasn't happened. So you're in the business
Speculation
of prognostication
exists.
and
That's why there's a
necromancy,
word called
basically.
speculation. That's a word that exists in the dictionary.
It is, but
It's
it is
speculation.
it is speculative that, and you're speculating
that
that
has
these
been done
people
by the
that
president.
on this
of the
occasion
United
that the
States of
state of
America.
Wyoming will act against Liz Cheney.
I
Is that
did
correct?
not mention the state of Wyoming.
Well, you said the states would attack us. I'm just wondering which one.
I don't know.
I think more or less lives in these
Joe
things now.
Biden.
So I don't think she's going to be
Ask Joe Biden.
under the microscope of anyone in the District of Columbia.
Who is Joe Biden trying to protect her from? I'm not sure. But when it comes to the division of states and federal criminal codes and jurisdictions, yes, she has a federal pardon. There is a possibility that states would be able to prosecute her, quite possibly frivolously, in order to cause her.
I would still be wondering on what basis.
Yeah, I don't know the basis, because the basis we made up. It'll be frivolous and it'll be stupid. I don't know the criminal codes of each of these states that may come up with trumped up charges.
Well,
It's
her
insane to think
great
that I
offence
thought that.
is having abused Trump on a regular basis, often in rather witty and amusing ways. Other than that, she led from the Republican Party the investigation in the congressional inquiry into the January 6th
and
stuff.
that made the emperor really angry.
No,
and
see,
there's a lot of people trying to get his
I'm going to
back.
say what's happened here, and what has actually happened is actually more important than what you think might happen. And that is that today Trump basically released 1,500 people.
Yeah, these are two separate
900 of whom have been convicted of violent offences.
two completely separate things. And yes, there's a lot of gravity in that.
They're inextricably linked. And so what we've basically seen is this great Putin, and he did promise to do these things, and he's gone ahead and done it. It was speculated before the announcement, in fact, before the election, that he might pardon those convicted of non-violent offences on January 6th.
That was the reasonable take. And then it's gone.
And then, now it's a whole lot, including some very bad bastards. So Joel, that happened, and that happened today. Take it away.
Yeah, that did happen. But I stand by my words.
Yeah, I mean, we've had that conversation. Move on.
Yeah, no, of course. So we've got Vanity Fair here saying that Trump saved the wildest part of his surge back into power for the end of the day when he granted clemency to more than 1,500 of those convicted in the January 6th attack on the Capitol he instigated 4 years ago. They had decent words too, like, they're not mincing, which is nice. His blanket pardon extended to those who committed violent crimes, including assaults on law enforcement. Quote, "This is a big one," Trump said as he signed the pardon. I saw that. Gross. Narrating his blitz of executive orders. By the way, from Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller passing him over, and he's got that black texter. Stephen Miller, I thought Stephen Miller was like an 18-year-old intern, and then I saw it was him. I'm like,
in charge of texters, Stephen.
oh my God, that's the only job that I'm comfortable with him having. And to be honest, it's too much responsibility.
He'd still fuck it up, but anyway.
He's the fucking worst. Anyway, God, what a DI hire.
Trump's writing in some lurid feminist purple because Steve's just got the colours wrong.
We've skated so far from
Picked the wrong one out of the pack.
I just got to say, with this, this is a big one thing. Stephen Miller keeps on handing him these black folders, and he tells him what the executive order is about. And Trump's like, "Oh yeah, that sounds familiar," and starts signing it. You don't know what you're signing.
That's what I mean. It's performative. It is
insane.
performative stuff.
It's just
And
Project 2025. So cool.
People. I think 600 of them have been convicted of violent offences, often against police, law enforcement. And how'd you go?
It's just absolutely fucking bizarre.
A couple of blokes have been cleared for seditious conspiracy.
Yeah, well, that's Tario, that's for sure. So anyway, I'll get back to the Vanity Fair thing because I'm just fucking going mental here. So he says to the scrum of reporters in the Oval Office, quote, "We hope they come out tonight, frankly," which is, of course, how much of a grasp of procedure he has. Yeah, we're just going to pardon them and all the gates will open and everyone will just walk out. Yeah, cool. Just such a fuck.
Pack your stuff. You're going home.
Yeah, but it takes time to release someone from jail. You can't just Yeah,
I mean, look,
paperwork
just
meeting
don't
time.
fling open automatically and
No.
just off you go.
But that's what he thinks. Like, he just thinks like he presses a button and they just walk out. Anyway, so continuing with the Vanity Fair article, he got his wish. Among the so-called J6 hostages, which is what he calls them, to be released overnight was Enrique Tarrio, the former Proud Boys, Enrique, I believe, Tarrio, the former Proud Boys leader who helped incite the 2021 insurrection and was serving the longest prison sentence for his role in it, which is the seditious conspiracy, I believe. And Stuart Rhodes, the Oath Keepers founder, who was serving the second longest sentence, and I believe that was also seditious conspiracy? I'm not sure.
Yeah, yes, seditious conspiracy. Yes, I did see that he's sadly lost the eye patch because it was so fetching, wasn't it?
Well, look, you can buy it on when he gets back with all the fucking lucrative right-wing media deals he's about to get from dodgy outlets.
I don't feel like he's whole anymore without that eye patch. It really did add that sinister sort of element. And he just doesn't look scary anymore. He just looks like a pudgy, fat white guy.
Yeah, it's like a bit of a fuckwit who ate too much food in prison, didn't take advantage of the gym. Anyway, this 2 paragraphs thing going for like 20 minutes. So I'm so glad to see they're being released. One Trump supporter said of the January 6 convicts outside the detention facility where some of the insurrections were being held. This is just an unspeakably joyous, happy day.
It's a happy day.
Trump supporters are standing outside jails waiting for these guys to come out.
The Q shaman, Jacob Chansley, he got on the toots, I think. Was he on Twitter? He sent a rather lovely message. He's having a lovely day. I just got the news from my lawyer. I got a pardon, baby. Thank you, President Trump. 3 exclamation marks there, by the way. Now I'm going to buy some motherfucking guns. I love this country. We got 2 lots of 3 exclamation marks. And God bless America, there's 4 exclamation marks there.
Oh, no, the tweet still keeps going.
J6s are getting released and justice has come. That's all capitalized. Everything done in the dark will come to light. Gonna buy some motherfucking guns. I wonder if they're organic, those guns.
Yes, of course.
You know, the Q shaman, Jacob Chansley, as we have reported previously on this program, prefers his food organic. Had a bit of a problem with the prison food early on and needed his mum to send in food parcels, didn't he?
He's going to get one of those guns with the vegan leather handle, which is just a really like fancy way of saying polyester.
I don't know. I reckon he would have had a pretty tough time in jail, but I don't know.
No, he would have a great
for
fucking
sure.
time.
Look, we do know that he's a real health nut, and now he's out and about. But look, if he did have access to guns, I guess if he's got no priors, and that might be a problem. If he's got no priors, he'd be able to. In fact, it's kind of the law in Texas for him to have one.
Yeah, it is a bit like that. Well,
give him one on the way out.
Quickly, just as a bit of a detour for those who don't know, the famous Ed something Welch, the guy who went into ping pong with the AR-15 and shot the door and realized there was no basement and then said he had basically bad intel.
Yes.
He's dead. He's dead. He had a traffic stop with cops and he pulled the gun on them and they shot him and now he's dead. So that's another scalp of the movement.
He was a convicted felon.
I don't know how he had a gun, yeah.
How the hell is he get a gun?
Yeah.
North Carolina boy, wasn't he? Maybe South Carolina.
Sure. Yeah.
South Carolina, when you leave jail there, just go, look, here, would you like something? Would you like something on the hip or would you like, a long gun?
To be fair, I do love a state with lax gun laws, but I love the feeling of leaving. But they are a lot more fun when you go to a range. Here, have this. It shoots quickly, but you'll be fine. Are you sure? Yeah, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. Thanks. That'll be $50. Really? Okay, never mind.
I just wonder if any of those pardon of the 1,500, maybe some will sue. I just don't know enough about the pardon system to say if it's possible or not.
I don't know. I don't have
very
looked into that in any way, shape, or form.
But in the United States, God bless America, as Jacob Chansley says, Joe.
I really don't think you can do that, but it'd be fascinating if they did. And it'd be another one of those examples of like the Trump coin where you just like, so the worst people in the country are making a bunch of money from doing nothing. Great. Good. Fact. Great.
Well, so, just as you suggested, no, it's okay. Just in regard to the South Carolina chap, the Pizzagate guy, it's only a matter of time before some of these clowns reoffend.
100%. Or it could be a matter of time, a matter of moments. These people could also be like, of course, they've got these pardons, which, sort of pardon them from anything that sort of happened, but they could have outstanding things that they're sort of involved in. So, they go home and they go back to selling meth, like all this sort of stuff. Like, these are very scummy, weird people. I would say that a lot of these people will get back in jail pretty quickly, especially with this sort of
that family. Remember where the son actually gave evidence against his father, who died in January 6th. Well, that's going to work.
Yeah, I want to add that to note.
Surely won't be a problem there.
Yeah, that's really like that kid must be like moving to Canada.
But top of the range, Henri Theriault, what he got? What did he get? He'd already been convicted of a prior offence. He actually pleaded guilty to the prior offence. That was an assault, and he was convicted on May 4, 2023.
Yeah,
with 3 other Proud Boy members, and sentenced to 22 years. So
22.
He's got to thank his lucky stars, and of course Rhodes are now sadly without the eye mask, without the eye patch, I should say. And he was convicted of seditious conspiracy in November 22, a year before, and he got 18 years in prison, and he doesn't look like he got too many left, so he'd be very happy.
Yeah, and also just as a general side note of the Biden pardons earlier, Leonard Peltier, the Native American activist who allegedly killed the 2 FBI agents, was freed, which I only know about because Raids Against the Machine talked about it a lot, and I like Raids Against the Machine a lot. So if Tom Morello thinks it's a good idea, so do I. That's all I really know. But yeah, so that's a good thing. But also, one thing that I've got mixed feelings about is the pardoning of Ross Ulbricht, the Dread Pirate Roberts. And this is an expression of love to his libertarian supporters, which is kind of what he said.
Trump's just blowing them a big kiss.
But I think he actually said this was for his libertarian supporters because there was so much support. Yeah. And there's some really dodgy stuff from an Ulbricht party going on. Yes.
And he thanked Ulbricht's mum and the Libertarian Party for their support.
And yeah, so Ross Ulbricht is Dread Pirate Roberts, who was the founder of the Silk Road, which is like the original darknet market online. And darknet markets basically being places where you mostly buy drugs and things like that. There's all this talk about how you can buy hitmen and stuff like that. But apparently what happens is someone puts up a classified ad saying hitman for sale, and you give them $5,000 and they go, oh yeah, we'll do it soon. And that's like the last thing you hear. And like, if you go back to them, they're like, what, you think I'm going to kill someone? You fucking moron. No, I just took your $5,000 because you're an actual idiot. How about you go on like be friends with the person?
And if you're lucky, that same person who's taking your money doesn't go to the police and say, this guy, they want to kill someone for it.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's never a good idea. But anyway, yeah, Trump said the scum that worked to convict him was some of the same lunatics who are involved in the modern day weaponization of government against me. The worst kind of discrimination. He didn't say that, but government against me. He was given 2 life sentences plus 40 years. This is Trump still ridiculous.
Well, look, I agree. I think it's ridiculous. I think a guy like that, he made a ton of money. He facilitated the sale of a lot of drugs.
He lost a ton of money too. He actually got, he had, and I think what today valued at $5.2 billion worth of Bitcoin hacked from him.
Yeah, well, when you say lost money, like I feel like you're saying like he went into it with money and then lost that money. No, he made a bunch of money and it was seized.
Most of it was seized, not all.
He'll have some wallet.
And the FBI actually got the $5.2 billion in today's money of Bitcoin back. They were actually able to trace and get the Bitcoin.
I don't think they've even sold it yet. But yeah, when it comes to
on a fair pile, the FBI.
This is an interesting part, and I just want to say this is a very quick side note. While Assange never got a pardon, Biden did the deal to release him. And the difference between Ross Ulbricht and Assange is what? I think it's money. I think the Libertarians had some Bitcoin. I think there was some crypto changing hands to make that happen.
And your endless sympathy towards drug taking.
Well, look, I am not here to talk about that because this is public. But on the Patreon episode, I'm more than happy to talk about how much I love drugs. Anyway, so yeah.
This is it. He's the ultimate poster boy for the Libertarian movement. And
totally.
he was just, being an entrepreneur, just making a quid in a hard world.
I think that there's some libertarians sitting on a lot of crypto who spend some money. That's just my theory. It's baseless. allegedly.
Bitcoin's down. Yeah.
Not by much. It's not down by much.
Scum and lunatics that Trump was referring to, they're actually Drug Enforcement Agency and the Department of Justice, which you obviously
Well, he doesn't like them. No.
but the Drug Enforcement Agency, they're scum.
And the thing is, Trump hates drugs. He hates booze and he hates drugs. Like, he really does, with a passion. Like, if he realized that Don Jr. was doing coke all the time, he'd be furious.
Like I say, he was just blowing a kiss to the Libertarian Party and their supporters and voters.
Yes.
But the presidential pardons, we got nothing like it in this country. It is just a ridiculous thing, isn't it? I mean, I take what you mean about Biden and how he would feel and his family would feel a lot more secure as a number of other public.
Well, they call them the
would,
Biden crime family. It's baseless.
Sitting on preemptive pardons, but the whole business is kind of weird because, and we can go back to, I remember Clinton pardoning some very dodgy characters.
I bet. I can only imagine.
Very dodgy characters.
Yeah. Some quid pro quo.
The Trumpster's just released, who's tough on crime. I mean, you don't get anyone tougher on crime. I saw him interviewed, when he was, sort of asked about what he goes, you don't find more friends of the police than me. And the police, certainly in DC, are furious.
Oh, they would.
And the other thing is that a lot of the Republicans were actually openly questioning whether they had sufficient security in the Congress.
Yeah.
As a result of this move. So as you would expect, I mean, these people had to scuttle into the tunnels where all the tortured children are. No. Scuttle into the tunnels and awake, the mob to leave.
That's very funny.
It's just a really crazy shit.
It's crazy, but the thing is, it's become more essential as a result of this bizarre weaponization concept of justice, and whether the Democrats started that or not, we can have that.
I mean, you could certainly make that argument.
You could make that argument, but at the same time, I'm sorry, but
the argument might extend to, if they didn't do that, would Trump be president today?
It's hard.
We don't know. I mean, it's there's one of your speculators, Joel. But what?
Yeah, but I'm not speculating that based on the word.
Dead man walking in, let's say, March of 2021.
Yeah, I'd go with that.
His phone did not fucking ring.
Yeah, as he says, no one to be friends with me, and now they all want to be friends with me, and you're like, you are a fucking 13-year-old, but anyway. But I just don't know on that one. It really is. I mean, look, I'm the guy who bet.
We got to There's just so much that's happened.
Oh, there's so much.
We've got executive orders. He had so many that he signed them in an indoor stadium. The Capital Arena, DC, home to the Washington Capitals in the NBA and Washington Devils in the WNBA. And he had plenty to say. He's got plenty to say on geography, but he always never misses the opportunity to stick the boot in, does he?
Oh God, he's such a cunt. He said that Biden wouldn't do this, as if that was some kind of brag. No, Biden wouldn't do this because he's tacky and weird. You're awful.
Stuff that Biden wouldn't do.
Right. So yeah. So, of course, we did see that the whole Doge thing was formed by the executive order. Vivek Ramaswamy's out, though.
Yeah, gone. Just disappeared.
Didn't have enough money to basically survive the unpopularity contest.
My body might be found in the sand dunes of Jersey.
Well, if he doesn't get the Ohio governor's mansion, which I doubt, because the great thing about Vivek is going to realize that he's a DEI hire because he's not a white man. And I'm not saying he's not capable or competent.
Well, he's gone. He's gone
because
leave the gun, grab the cannoli.
How is he going to get elected in a party full of racists?
It's gone, and this just means that all of Doge power has now been landed on Elon's feet. We'll get to his arms rather than his feet fairly soon.
But to be fair, it's also all the blame, which is funny. So when he goes after things that are unpopular, Elon will find himself unable to have his little Indian scapegoat, which, to be honest, I would have kept around. I would have kept Vivek around. And then once things got real,
look, Trump has stayed true to his word. He hasn't told too many lies just yet. He said that he wants to take back control of the Panama Canal and acquire Greenland by force if necessary. And he's also renaming great chunks of the Western Hemisphere.
It's so fucking dumb. So Trump started talking about these ideas at a press conference on January 7th where he was promising a golden age of America, which includes,
golden shower for America.
Well, yes, exactly. Oh, no, the Freudian slip. But this, of course, involved taking back control of the Panama Canal and acquiring Greenland for reasons that he just says are strategic. And this is a quote, and it's so fucking Trumpian. The Gulf of America. What a beautiful name.
It's beautiful.
Shut
it's beautiful.
up.
But the Mexicans, not quite so enamored and decided to take the piss. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum responded sarcastically, saying the Gulf of Mexico was a name recognized by the United Nations. She really does like throwing those left jabs out there. She's Mexico's first woman, our first Jewish president, by the way, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Does everybody like, there goes the neighborhood, you know?
I like you do that nice T voice.
We're having a lovely time here. And now this.
You know that you're quoting the song, right? Brilliant. Anyone who hasn't heard that song needs to hear it. So good. I can't see it because the N word is literally sprinkled.
It should be playing in Mexico City on repeat.
Oh, totally. So at her daily press conference, Ms. Sheinbaum joked that North America should be renamed America Mexicana or Mexican America. But
Buy that pizza,
proceeded, dude, be delicious. There'd be so much mayonnaise on it though. The preceded Mexico's constitution referred to it that way, and fuck them. I go for it, or at least make a pizza because I would eat that. It'd be a lot of calories.
Yeah, just America Mexicana sounds pretty damn good.
Jalapenos and cheese sauce.
Denali in Alaska is the highest mountain in North America, and it will revert to its former official name, Mount McKinley, after one of America's assassinated presidents. Denali was the name used by Alaskan Indigenous people, and the name was changed to it in 2015. So take that, Obama. He's just giving Obama a bit of a slapping there.
Yeah.
The other point is that this was in line. I mean, Obama wasn't sitting there cross-legged on the floor in the Oval Office thinking, we'll rename it to Denali. He was basically just following, his administration was just basically following the advice of the Alaska Geographic Board. You know? Yeah. I mean, those communists. And
they probably kind of are.
These are a board of geographers in Alaska, the red state, Alaska, mind you.
True.
And that's their designation. It's a big slap in the face to Native Americans and geographers, not to mention Obama. But look, Indigenous Native groups like the Artna, the Koyukon, and the Tanana peoples and others, which live in the vicinity of Denali or about to be renamed Mount McKinley. Each of these tribes, there's half a dozen tribes live in that greater area around the mountain, and each have their own language and customs. I mean, imagine things we can learn from them. But anyway, Donald Trump just told them to go and get fucked.
Customs and language from them sounds, what's that word I'm looking for? Boring. Let's get some tits. Let's get some beers. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, so embarrassing.
Then there's the Panama Canal. Trump has been picked up for his claim. He actually got fact-checked on a claim that 18,000 Americans died in the construction of the Panama Canal in the first decade of the 20th century. It's true that some 18,000 labourers did die in building the canal, but less than 1,000 were Americans.
There you go.
He also claims that China has taken over the Panama Canal, and it's another bit of a stretch. A Hong Kong-based company does control the gates at the Caribbean and Pacific ends of the canal, but the Panama Canal Authority controls it, a government department of the Panama government. And the canal's fees are a primary source of money for the Central American Republic. So, like the indigenous native groups of Alaska, the Panamanians can go and get fucked as well, apparently.
They can.
Look, it's important to remember that the US can name anything it likes, or Donald Trump can, but the world will stick with the Gulf of Mexico. So the International Hydrographic Organization is a global body that works to ensure all the world's oceans are surveyed and charted uniformly, trying to make sure all nautical charts are the same. And there's 100 member states, including both Mexico and the US. That's another one they'll have to jump out of because they've left the Paris Agreement, and that was predictable. Did you see that one? When he was signing that with a big black texter?
I was going to say quickly, I love the fact that
thunderous applause.
I love that Trump has made you look up the International Hydrographic Organization and research that. That makes me happy in a weird place. But yes, the Paris Agreement is a nightmare. We have joined the wonderful company of, Iran, Yemen, and Libya as the only country.
Good people. Well, good countries.
out of that.
Almost good countries.
Yeah, so climate change is fucked. World Health Organization, we're jumping out of that despite the fact that bird flu, bit of a problem for the price.
No one really knows how to deal with that. I mean, that's so for a start, World Health Organization has, I think it's $10.9 billion budget. That's US dollars. We always say US dollars, particularly in this episode, unless otherwise stated.
Yeah,
$11 billion budget, almost half it funded by the US.
Mm-hmm.
So tough times for World Health Organization, and look, that next pandemic, it's going to be fun.
It's so insane. It's just that thing of like, if you've got one organization doing the thinking for all of us, that's really great. And now you're just going to have a lot of countries having to scramble to understand and respond to something which we could just do centrally. But of course, they don't trust it because they're all cooked, and it's that dumb cycle of believing nonsense and just rinse and repeat. It's really quite pathetic. Anyway, well, I guess that leads into defense, doesn't it?
No, well, yes, the Trump pick there, we've given him a bit of a pat in the head with some of his plea access is not quite so good. Not a commissioned officer, anything like that. No background in defense or in the Pentagon. And one or two personal problems. A former TV host, of course.
He did serve, though.
But his sister-in-law has come up because when he was being interrogated by the US Services Committee about his behaviour, he continued to respond that it was, these are anonymous smears, anonymous smears. Well, now his sister-in-law, Danielle Hegseth, has come forward and provided a sworn statement saying she personally observed erratic and aggressive behaviour by Hegseth, witnessing him abusing alcohol multiple times over the years. He just couldn't handle his booze. On Christmas in 2008 or 2009, he drank so much that he threw up and passed out. He's one of these blokes. You've got to put him in a cab. And the new allegations come a day after the Armed Services panel voted 14-13, and now the vote will go to the Senate. There's also further allegations about his womanising as well. And there seem to be quite a lot of people in the Senate who might not sort of adopt him. So it's a little bit of a problem for the Trojan, because if Pete Hegseth, has to go back to Fox and Friends, he's not going to be too bothered with that. He's going to find some other clown.
Well, I don't know. Look here, because I thought that he got confirmed. No.
So he has gone to the Armed Services Committee, and he's been grilled. Yes, and now that vote, he won that vote by one human being, but that's the way on party lines, that's the way the committee is structured, and now he will go to the Senate for confirmation, or ratification of that of the Armed Services Committee.
It'll be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, we'll see. There's a bit more, so he's going to have to go through another one of those awkward interrogations, as I say, this time in front of the entire US Senate. And this time with a sworn statement from his former sister-in-law saying he's a drunk, a disgrace, a womanizer, and a piece of shit. And so we'll wait and see how he gets on there.
And vulnerable to blackmail, which is actually relevant to the portfolio. So basically, he's been blackmailed before, and he paid off his blackmailer, basically saying, "I thought it hurt my career." But he allegedly sexually assaulted a woman after, hilariously enough, a Republican women's convention, which to me sounds like shooting fish in a barrel, because that's not a good place for a woman to be. Don't go to a women's convention.
Anyway,
like a Republican women's convention is a terrifying place for women to be. I would not go near it with a fucking pole. Anyway, this is in California in 2017, and he's had to admit that he paid off his blackmailer. Now, that's a bit concerning, the fact that he's vulnerable to blackmail.
Well, he's vulnerable. He has been blackmailed.
Well, yeah, but like, what?
And rather than go to law enforcement, he's going, "Oh, I better give you your demands."
Totally. It's fucked up. So, like, all I want to see basically is that this
was it a straight blackmail case, or was it just her saying, "Look, I'm going to go to the courts if you"?
I think they were going to go public. I'm not sure if it was a criminal threat. I'm not sure. Might not have been enough to get a conviction. But I do know that he paid an unnamed settlement type thing. There was lawyers involved and the whole bit. But like, I'm just going to say, like, you know, when it comes down to it, he said he's not going to drink, and that's great. But look, you know, is he going to turn up half cut, well, no, fully cut, having a Barnaby moment, just passed out in front of a bloody phone booth or something?
He is.
I think that's really possible.
He promises to be America's Barnaby George.
I look forward to that. A blotchy-faced, angry, weird guy with a questionable tattoo on his chest that might be a little bit Nazi.
Who runs what's the Pentagon's budget again? I mean, the DOD. I mean, it's massive.
Oh, $20 bucks? $30, you know?
800 billion.
Just put it on a trifecta and see if it comes
in.
in.
Head, don't call me up on that one, listeners. I think that's the extent of military, but that's the extent of military spending.
It's more numbers than Hegseth knows how to count.
DOD budget. Look, we haven't even got to the ceremony yet, Joe.
Oh, God, the ceremony was cringe as fuck. We don't need to spend much time on the ceremony, though, because it was about as boring as
everyone's seen. It was horrible.
Face.
Barron looks... Look, he's got the brooding, look of a serial killer. I got to tell you right now,
he looks like his mum.
Look, who knows?
Angry to be there.
He knows what he's going through. He basically studies. And the reports were that he, you know, put the Donald on the Joe Rogan and, you know, opened up his appeal to yeah. Who knows?
No, I don't.
Who knows whether that's true or myth, or whether he said, "Hey, Dad, why don't you just go on here? I'm listening to this now. Why don't you go on this?"
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, it could have been something like that. He's more than 9 feet tall, I think. He's garishly
huge.
large.
I think Trump hates that.
And when he sits next to, and even when he stands next to Elon, wow. Elon doesn't come up to Elon reckons he's 188 centimeters. I'm calling shenanigans on.
Yeah. There's lifts in those shoes. There's fucking lifts in those shoes.
He's been into his, you know, he's been chatting with his mates at Google. Hey, can you just, you know, when people type in my height in a Google search, pop it up to 180.
Well, Wikipedia is saying he hates Wikipedia, but hey, he's got that on the side. The thing is very funny is the fact that Barron and Elon were standing next to each other.
Tentacles are everywhere.
Like, it just feels like that's one of those things. It's like there's either nothing in it and they just like pulled their names out of a hat, or it's to make Elon look short, or to basically put two of the most neurodivergent people in the room together to see what their faces do on camera.
There was just a magnificent moment where Jeff Bezos' wife, Lauren Sanchez, who was ample of bosom, Joe, and wearing a very lasso, and one might argue inappropriate outfit. And when she tried to sidle up next to Jeff, it's RFK Jr. and Mark Zuckerberg. I think Mark Zuckerberg just sort of came in his pants there.
But yeah, he was squeating. He was looking up right at the
He had to pop off for a few minutes there. Just got a bit excited. Yeah. So, and they were photographed just sort of, you know, mid-perv.
Dude, there's like 1,000 cameras on you. Don't look at her tits. Everyone can see it.
Don't look at her tits. This is the RFK Jr. just mantra like, don't look at her tits, don't look at her tits, and just going straight for them.
I love this in like a room full of egos. The Daily Mail quoted this tweet in their article, which was, Mark Zuckerberg, brackets, and some guy behind him were caught staring at a woman's breast during the inauguration. And RFK Jr. was the some guy behind him, which is very funny. If he reads that,
the Kennedys,
so sad.
The Kennedys are so 1964.
Who's that old guy? Who's the old guy with the crinkled face behind looking at that chick's tits?
Who's that wizened old man?
The big crude lazy's
about to die.
Why is he here? He doesn't own Facebook. Great. And
by the way, RFK also promised to pardon Ulbricht as well. So
really?
He got that under his belt. But the one thing that we do want to talk about, like everyone's talking about, is Elon's Nazi salute.
Well, okay, let's not forget the fact that, last note on that, Tulsi Gabbard was sitting next to the CEO of TikTok, who is the proposed director of national intelligence.
Yeah,
that is
next
important.
to him.
That's one of those things where you're like, okay, so the director of national intelligence, the future director of national intelligence, is sitting next to the guy who's apparently a national security threat.
He's okay now. He's okay now.
Anyway,
okay now.
So you guys can do your own research on that.
Elon gear.
Stole the show. Stole the show.
Everyone's just looking at Elon now.
God. Yeah, so basically the ADL has claimed that it is not a Roman salute or a Nazi salute, depending on what you call it. My mate, who is a World War II buff,
We may be, everyone may know what a Roman salute is now. There's no such thing as an ancient Roman salute. It was sort of an affectation where people were generally artists in the 18th and 19th centuries would run Roman figures on canvas, often with the hand up, signal style. And everyone loved it so much, or Benito Mussolini loved it so much that it became, the thing to do for the Italian fascists. And then Hitler had a look at it and went, "Oh, I love this. Let's do this." So that's basically it. I mean, certainly the Roman salute is not something you want, it's only a Roman salute. You're like, no, it's Mussolini's fascists in Italy.
They're not great.
If you want to downgrade it, that's about as far as you can go.
Yeah, it's not a place you can take it to, like the swastika. Like, oh no, but it's like a symbol of faith in India. Just turn it around. No.
What was really crazy is that they, everyone sort of, well, not everyone, but he did actually declare that he has Asperger's in, I think, 2021. He had Asperger's, which is an odd thing to say because Asperger's really wasn't certainly a clinical psychiatrist wouldn't use the term in 2021.
It's out of fashion these days.
Well, it doesn't appear in the DSM-5, which was published in 2017. No, earlier, 2013, I think.
Oh, really? Oh, okay, I thought the 5.
And so it's it's part of that thinking that that there's an entire spectrum and people.
He's on the autism spectrum, that's for goddamn sure.
Yeah,
but like when it comes to the idea of Asperger,
basically 2013 for DSM-5. Sorry,
Asperger wasn't a good person, and that's one of the reasons why I think he got cancelled, which is terrible.
He should have got cancelled too, but he didn't get cancelled for a long time. There was a lot of nonsense post-war about this is Dr. Hans Asperger's, an Austrian, who's sort of identified, well, obviously they named it after him, so he's identified and clinically diagnosed for the first time the condition called Asperger's syndrome. And there are sort of lurid stories told about him post-war that he had protected children. The Nazis were obviously attracted to this, notions of racial superiority and so forth. So when you did have someone with an intellectual disability,
knock them off,
or a perceived one like autism, those children would be in a fair bit of strife. Now, there was a bit of stuff which was true to a point, that Asperger's was able to convince Gestapo senior Nazis as well that some kids with autism had the special skills, special talents, which is true, right. and was able to protect a few lives there. But the reality was a lot worse than that.
It's collaboration in a not a good person.
I'll just quote from Herwig Scheck, who was a scholar and historian from the Medical University of Vienna, in an article he wrote in 2018 about Asperger. He said, Asperger managed to accommodate himself to the Nazi regime, was rewarded for his affirmations of loyalty with career opportunities. He joined several organisations affiliated with the NSDAP, which is the political arm of the Nazi Party. He publicly legitimised race hygiene policies, including forced sterilisations, and on several occasions actively cooperated with child euthanasia.
No, you don't come back from that. Nah. You don't come back from that. So
anyway, back to Elon.
Well,
and why everyone was, well, not everyone, as I say, but why this was being offered as an excuse for his behaviour is, I don't know enough about the autism, but I have seen him jumping up and down on stages. We all have, particularly around Trump. And he obviously, there is a behaviour there where he seems to get very exuberant, very excited.
Well, here's a different take on it, right? So Jason Wilson, who is on I Pass Around a lot, he's a sort of far-right researcher. He's great. He's an Australian guy, lives in the US. He posted this on Blue Sky across several posts, but I was a speaker this one. Speaking as a fellow dyspraxic, we'll come back to that, there's no way that dipshit did an unplanned Roman salute. He rehearsed it for days and he still looked like he can't tie his shoelaces. In 2017, it was Richard Spencer. So he's continuing a lineage of real cool guys building lasting influence with sheer charisma. Richard Spencer did like a shitty speech outside the inauguration 2017, I believe, but I'm not going to go into that too far. Anyone who is entertaining the idea that this gesture was made by accident or with some other intention has not properly clocked the overlapping dumb fuck pathologies at play here. This is a badly damaged and desperately needy person with severe internet poisoning. Do you think rich people don't go 8chan?
He's been pilled on the net like a 12-year-old, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, and this dyspraxia thing is basically like a developmental coordination disorder. And his mum has said publicly he has a developmental disorder. It's basically one of those things where, like, motor skills can be impacted. It's a lifelong condition. It's something that's in your brain. It's like, some sort of a general, so like, motor skills, like gross motor skills, fine motor skills, things like running and jumping and throwing a ball can be impacted by this sort of stuff. So when you see him like jumping like an idiot on stage, that may very well be this dyspraxia thing. Now, I'm guessing that Jason Wilson doesn't know he's dyspraxic, though I don't know. But when it comes down to it, I'm looking at all the things, has difficulty with learning skills, becomes tired easily. I mean, these are very interesting and vague things. But the other thing that's interesting about the shoelaces thing is that on like the sort of like the Health Direct Australia thing about dyspraxia, one of the things they may have difficulty with is doing up buttons or shoelaces. So that's like a direct barb on the guy if he's got the thing. Yeah. And Jason Wilson said that he's a fellow dyspraxic as well. So it's an interesting new thing that I've never seen before or speculated on, which is that this may be the thing that everyone mistakes for his autism. I'm sure he's on the spectrum, but this dyspraxia may explain that sort of Gumby, awkward, weird. I think he's doing that a second later than he should be.
It's certainly odd that he used the term Asperger's syndrome in 2021. And look, did he stage the Donald? Probably a bit. I don't know. There's some headlines. Donald would be too pissed off, but it'd be a slapping. It'd be a slapping sooner. Down the track, if you pulled something like this, it'd be a slapping.
It probably will be.
While we're talking about his motives, he is openly expressed support for the German far-right group, the closest thing you'll get to a Nazi in Germany. Yeah. The Germans are mightily upset. Of course, he would have been arrested in Austria, Germany, and in any state or territory I'm not sure about Northern Territory, but certainly any state and territory in Australia.
Yeah.
In terms of making
cracking the old flappy
a Nazi hand symbol. Certainly the police would be well advised to tap him on the shoulder and say, "Hey, what are you doing, mate?"
My heart goes out to Vic Paul. Yeah, thanks, Elon. Thanks.
Yeah, and how the Nazis coping, Joel? They
having
would
a great
just sat there in a little puddle with their own ejaculate, wouldn't they?
That's precisely what happened. Tom Sewell got quoted in Rolling Stone and posted out on Telegram gloating about it because he loves being mentioned in the mainstream media. And this is the thing, like, okay, we talk about Tom Sewell, we're small. In the mainstream media, unless you have something that is meaningful, but you've got to do it in a way that is meaningful. You can't just quote him and be like, Tom Sewell said this was a great day for him. No, don't post that. Don't publish that. All people see is his name and he gets really excited. And once again, like I say, he just finds himself just swimming in his own ejaculate. And that's not where we want Tom Sewell to be. He needs to keep it inside himself. It's the whole nofap thing. Look at that.
What else did he have, Joe?
Libs of TikTok, made a meme that had Democrats with extended arms. You can find a million of these from any kind of still from a video, claiming there was some sort of double stand in the media. That's dumb. Obviously, it's dumb, but she assumes her base is dumb. She's correct. Her base is dumb. These were not part of Nazi salutes. Obviously, video footage shows them to be completely innocent, just your hand being raised. None of this heart to air shit. As usual, they're basically just denying and defending their shitty behavior instead of just basically saying, yeah, Elon's a dickhead. Like, they can't accept responsibility for it.
Look, people can spin it any way they like, but I went to a lot of sort of centrist and even right-wing news Insta pages and various social media run by, I guess, what you call traditional media, or at least online media. And in the comment section, firstly, thousands of comments, and most of them, I would say, the best part of 90%, all saying, he knew what he was doing.
Like, I've seen outliers of people saying he didn't.
Yeah, there were plenty. There were a number of apologists, but
And they could even
generally speaking, and I think this was the comment that got me. And it was like, when someone's trying to show you who they are, believe them.
Oh, yeah,
Pay
that's
attention.
a classic. That's a classic. And yes, thank you. Take that away, if anything. Take that away.
Well, yeah, so that was Elon Sewell. It probably did steal a bit of a thunder from the Donald, so he might not be taking his calls to Donald right now.
Yeah, I
A
will.
little pissed off.
Send him a couple of billion, be fine.
So
Don't worry about it.
bouncy every time I see him. He's jumping up and down like a clown.
He can't jump.
All
That's the problem.
Shut the fuck up. Anyway, the deportation plan has been stalled, and that was because so we're going to have a big raid for illegals in Chicago, which would have been a bit of a stoush with the governor of Illinois there.
There would have been cameras everywhere.
Billionaire in his own right, not going to take any shit from McDonald, but that was all called off because the enemy, the blue enemy, had been tipped off.
Yeah. They started shipping out people, I'm sure.
And yeah, I mean, it was just like, maybe don't, sort of telegraph or indeed Truth Social your every move.
Oh, the element of surprise. It's a
So
thing.
JB Pritzker, he's the heir to one of the big hotel chains, isn't he, Joe? He's
Oh, really?
not
He's
the heir, but his family owns the Hyatt hotel chain. He's a multiple billionaire himself, Democratic governor, and he's basically said, you come here, you'll get a fight. So they pulled the pin on that one. It would have taken the glosser, particularly after Elon did the Nazi thing. So they backed off on that. And the next one, we promise, will be a surprise. You don't want to put money on this, but it will, because you won't pay much, but it will be a major city in a blue state.
100%. It's going to be a blue state for sure. That being said, friendly territory could go a long way, but yeah, we'll see how we go. Because the logistics based on that is, it's easier when you've got weird fucking cooked farmers who are going to give you a bloody field to put, FEMA tents on to store these people. But anyway.
Yeah. Now, look,
There's a lot of logistics.
We've got to get to the big thing. And again, it's kind of not been the big headline stories, but tariffs. The Trumpster said, basically, day one, they're all coming up. And it hasn't quite panned out that way, Joe.
Not really, no. So he did say he was going to jack up the tariffs on the first day. That was a big first day in office thing. Big first day. Hasn't happened despite signing about 200 little black folders that Stephen Miller meekly handed to him with a Sharpie. But yeah, like today as we record this,
Mr. President.
This one's for, this one's for punishing trans kids for existing. Oh, this is the big one. I'm excited to sign this one.
Given this the extra big flourish with the Dexter.
But he has said basically the 25% on all goods imported from Mexico and Canada as of February 1 is happening. So it might not have been signed.
All goods imported from Mexico and Canada
that's a week
as of February 1.
That's a week, bro.
That's, it's not far away.
It's a week from recording.
Things, it's, unlike your crazy political promises, a lot of this stuff, regardless of how you think or what you think about it, it just can't be implemented overnight. It just can't just be on it.
There's logistics involved.
Like,
how do you take the money?
DoorDash me a bucket of chicken, and can you get those tariffs up?
You've actually figured out the solution.
Please,
the gig economy will solve this. We make an app and gig economy tariff collectors who then go at gunpoint to trucks on the border and they make them pay in cash. Problem solved.
Well, well, who knows? 25% is a significant tariff, but there's been no announcement yet on the plan. 60% tariff increase for China. I don't know if Trump understands how tariffs work or whether he's just bullshitting the MAGA brigade. Probably a little bit of both. It has also announced the creation of an external, not internal, external revenue service. Hey, what an idea. Where presumably all these tariffs will be paid. It might swell the federal coffers, but as we all know, tariffs will be paid by the importer and then passed on to the consumer, right? Mm-hmm. So this is just a tax. This is a tax on the American consumer.
It's a sales
tax. For the most part, Mexico and Canada don't pay a cent, right?
No.
They have to. They don't have to pay any more. The importer has to pay the tariff. Although there may be constraints on US consumer purchases, given prices will rise.
That's right.
People might sort of, look for other buying methods, all that sort of stuff. There might be replacement goods. Overall, though, both countries provide a great many things America doesn't or can't provide.
Yeah, substitution's hard. It's real hard.
Give it to us, Joel.
It's high tech. All right, so here is the list of Mexico. Mexico remains the second largest trading partner for the United States, with nearly $1.8 billion in products and services crossing the US-Mexico border daily. Not weekly, not yearly, daily.
Mm-hmm.
Mexico produces 16 out of 100 cars sold in the United States.
Okay.
That's a lot. Mexico is Latin America's leading exporter of medical devices, and a lot of those motherfuckers need medical shit because they are all diabetic, and a major supplier to the United States because, well, they're all, like I said, diabetic. And according to the Observatory of Economic Complexity, the nation exported close to $11.7 billion in medical device in 2019, as the world's 11th largest exporter of said devices.
This is going to devices, can't you, Joe? You
buy them
so pay a bit more.
Don't worry, mate. Just reuse that needle. It'll be fine. I wish I was kidding. So Mexico is the top supplier of plastic products to the United States, and the United States is famous for liking plastic, with a total revenue of nearly $21 billion. That's a shitload of plastic because the plastic's quite cheap.
In plastic supply, it's Mexico, Canada, and China.
Trump, the enemy of straws, the final straw. Anyway, so Canada's in second place with $18 billion, and China is in third place, far behind, with only $6 billion, which is still a lot of plastic. And in total, a total of $26 billion in computers and computer parts, software and semiconductors were imported in a single year. Oh dear. In addition, smaller electronics such as vacuums, phones, and televisions and electrical parts made up a total of $64 billion of tech equipment imported into the US in 2018.
$4 billion.
That's going to be more expensive. In 2019, we saw around $7 billion worth of fresh vegetables, $5.8 billion worth of fresh fruit, and $2.2 billion worth of snack foods, $1.7 billion of processed fruits and vegetables, $3.6 billion of wine and beer imported to the United States from Mexico. Fuck me, that added 25%. Just add 25% to that. The nation is the biggest source of agricultural imports in the USA. All of that, 25% more.
25% more. Every single one of it. Canada, $158 billion US dollars, as we say, worth of imports into the US. Predominantly oils, minerals, lime, and cement from Canada constitute 50%, or almost, of total US imports of those commodities.
Oof,
oils, minerals, lime, and cement.
No wonder he wants to take the country.
Jack that up.
This is good.
By 25%. Jack that by 25%. I've got a long list here. We'll go through them of products imported in the US from Canada, Mexico, and China. And we'll just show you just exactly how this is going to pan out. We'll talk about, overall consumer spending in the United States. But what this effectively means, just with just on the Mexico Canada stuff at this stage, and without, of course, the threat of the 60% for China, and a universal, any nation that imports to us jacked up by 10%, which he's non-committal about now.
Yeah, that'll be, I reckon we'll get away with that, to be honest. Although weasel his way in there.
But look, this is just Canada and Mexico is around about 8% of total US consumer spending. And so when we look at some of these things, nuclear reactors, $38.45 billion came from Canada.
Oh,
plastics we've mentioned. Iron and steel is currently tariffed anyway. In fact, Trump bought them in and Biden stayed with them. Aircraft and spacecraft. Hello, Elon. $4.45 billion from Canada. Beers, beverages, spirits, and vinegar, $3.25 billion. Then we have a look at the Chinese situation, and we obviously know that there hasn't been an announcement yet of a 60% tariff increase, but $126.68 billion from China in electrical and electronic equipment. As machinery, nuclear reactors, boilers, $86 billion. Toys, games, sports, requisites, $33.4 billion. Plastics again, one of the pharmaceutical products from China, $6 billion. There's actually quite a significant amount of pharmaceuticals come from Canada and Mexico, as well.
I think
So
a
you
similar
can-
number, about 6 billion.
So you can,
$5 billion here. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. So you can
From Canada.
you can, put the house on the fact that medicines will and pharmaceuticals generally will go up
Yeah. Yeah.
in
They
the
definitely
United States. Aircraft and spacecraft from China, $500 billion, I should say. Railway, tramway, locomotives, rolling stock equipment, almost $1 billion there into the United States from China. Fish, crustaceans, mollusks, inorganic chemicals, fertilizers, inorganic fertilizers, jack the price up on that, straight into the agricultural industry there. They need that stuff. And where are they going to get it? I mean, the whole business, we get the sort of broad brush of the Trump America First plan is to somehow replace this with supply in the United States.
It's not that easy.
Well, let me explain how difficult it's going to be if he sort of stays to his word, about immigration and things like that.
Ooh.
The economy in the US is in fairly good state. That's
Great
that
state.
is definitely in his favour. GDP growth over the last 4 years is at an average of 2.5. I mean, that's something per annum. That's something that a lot of European nations and one in the Pacific and maybe a couple in the Pacific would sort of kill for. More importantly, this is a really significant stat. GDP per capita has grown each year in the last 4. So US GDP per capita for 2023 was 81,000, a 5.76 increase on the previous year. In 2022, it went up 8.71 to $77,000. Growth again in US GDP per capita in 2021, a 10% increase from 2020. In fact, the last year GDP per capita decline in the US was Trump's last year in the White House. To be fair to the orange one, it was the first year of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And GDP per capita declined by 1.9% in 2020. But yeah, we got a pandemic there. He didn't know. Let's face it. We all remember he didn't know what the bloody did. Big problem, like the rest of the world, remains inflation, which was annualized at 3.4% in the US this year. Again, performing a little bit better than us in Australia. The inflation rate fell to 2.4% in September, but worked its way back to 2.9% by the end of the year. And just like in Australia, people are confronted by the rising price of staples like oil and foodstuffs. Tell me how these tariffs, I mean, even if Trump doesn't go ahead with the spike to China and the 10% across the rest of the world, how the tariffs from Mexico and Canada will not be inflationary.
It's only if they subsidize. And that's what he did with his first term.
There are some things you just can't subsidize. And
No, it'd be insane. It'd be so much money. The deficit would go out of control.
And of course, these are just his own announcements because there's going to be a lot of tit for tat stuff, right?
Oh,
And that's really going to impact, definitely going to impact on Australia. I mean, we've got our greatest ally across the Pacific in the United States and our greatest trading partner in China involved potentially in a trade war. There were going to be some lateral casualties.
I'm feeling quietly confident. I think Aldo has the skill as a disappointing centrist that everyone's very upset about to turn out to be one of the best assets this country has, because I think he could stick his nose right up Trump's ass and sound convincing. Really do. I really do.
Look, anyways, people can change their buying habits and supply chains can change.
The market does.
Some of that will happen in some cases, but in many, many others, the US will not have the labour capacity to make it work.
No. And the whole make
to-
America healthy again?
To
Good
supply
luck.
demand.
No one's picking your lettuce because you sent them all to Venezuela, which is actually not where they came from. They've never been there before, but you just did that anyway because you're insane. So, yeah.
Well, I get. We get back to that point. And does he know how tariffs work? Has someone has explained this to him at some point? He just thinks, oh, well, let's revenue into our coffers. Okay, so you might sort of beat down your $1 trillion per year deficit. You might be able to trim some fat off that. You might be able to throw a few tax cuts around, but if people are paying 4 and 5% for staples like food, things like electronics, things like white goods, these sorts of things, clothing as well, but basically everything you can think of, if they're starting, if inflation goes from 2.9 where it is at the moment to 3, 4, 5 in the next 6 to 12 months, I can look out. I mean, inflation is just government killers.
Totally.
And
in the midterm,
I've done a sort of lot of vox pop stuff outside the stadium in DC over the last 48 hours, and the red hat, they say, what do you expect? What do you hope for from the Trump administration? A lot of them go border, as you'd expect. A lot of them are, not that bright, and they go, "Make America great again," and because that's all they can think of. But there are quite a number of these people who are saying, "Bring down inflation."
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that's what he promised. That's what he promised.
Or just fix it. Fix inflation.
Fix it.
So if it goes north, Trump is going to be in deep shit.
He'll make excuses for why the Democrats are to blame.
He'll make excuses, and the cult for how long? The cult members will stay the course, but at the same time there'll be a great pile of about of the total adult population, probably about 40 or 50% that are not invested in Trump. More than that.
They believe the lie.
And those who actually voted for him, the so-called blacks, Latino vote that supported Trump in the Midwest and in the Southwest, then these people are going to not be happy if they're paying more at the checkout, paying more at the browser, paying more just for their basic household budget.
How much does this reduce the price of eggs? Well, leaving the World Health Organization during a possible bird flu epidemic is probably not going to help the price of eggs. Wow. Just saying, mate. Just saying. Yeah, it's not
maybe one thing. Maybe one thing. So when we look at the future, we're at the high point right now. We're at the high point of
this is the dizzying authority. This is Trump coins max. It's a pump and dump from here. It's got to be. There's too many egos, there's too many narcissists, and there's too much procedure. There's too many things that are going to get done by courts.
Well, there's too much expectation too, Joel. That's the other thing.
Overpromise is wild.
Yeah, the overpromise is wild. And this
is what the Constitution
brings.
I'll just work around it.
Back to the fore very, very quickly.
Well, you say that like as this has ever happened before.
Created enormous expectation of what they're going to do. No, I would think the biggest problem he has is inflation.
Oh, the idea of keeping your promises on deportation and tariffs and keeping inflation under control, those things are opposing forces, and they're not going to, there's no way you can make that work. Like I say, without subsidizing the whole thing, which he did do in his first thing when he did the thing with the tariffs, started the trade wars, trying to stop buying the soybeans because the diplomatic relations fell down, and they just bailed out the soybean farmers. But you can do that on a small scale. You can't do that across an entire economy that goes to Walmart to buy Chinese sweets. You just can't.
I'm not up to their level of cunning, but what are they doing? I mean, what's Trump talking about with removing birthright citizenship? It's basically 14th Amendment of the Constitution. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. 14th Amendment. In order to knock that off, you need a joint sitting and a supermajority. So that's not going to happen. No, I mean, it's just not going to happen.
No, it's not.
And
it's meant to be hard. It's meant to be hard.
So where do we go? To the SCOTUS? And honestly, as conservative and as Trump-laden as that bench is, I can't see them flipping it. So I don't know where that all goes. Is it just part of an extended demonization process?
No, what it is, and this is, I stand by this, and this isn't my own thoughts as well. Other people have said this as well. Well, I was listening to an interview with a girl from the ACLU on, what was the podcast? Anyway. So basically, when it comes to the legal situation, you can do a whole bunch of stuff. And when it's before the courts, there are delays. Putting it through before SCOTUS, who will delay. Their eventual judgment will not besmirch their legacy by genuinely circumventing the Constitution. I can't imagine any of their judges would do it. People who speculate that maybe like Clarence Thomas will do it, or Alito will do it because they're fucking spineless dickheads. But honestly, I can't even imagine them doing it, and they are scum. But when it comes down to the amount of children and families you can deport and destroy in the process of getting that Supreme Court judgment done, that could take a couple of years if they use legal tactics to delay. And in that time, they can destroy so much. They are here to fucking cause.
Well, there are children and families at the border now, and they are, for the most part, from either Central America or South America, not Mexicans. In fact, the Mexican president has actually urged these people to go home. They had, made appointments with immigration officials to discuss their entry into the United States, and the app that they were using has just gone. And so they have just been left. Some of them had appointments with immigration officials.
So CBP just doesn't work anymore.
And so they're all sitting at the border. So they need to be extremely careful about this. I know there's a lot of sort of bloodlust among the red hat wearers about all of this sort of stuff, but it's where the wheels went off in 2017. And it's when, if you actually look at the polling, it didn't take long for Trump to become unpopular the first time around. And that was because basically on the lost children scandal, people fucking hated that. No, I just checked this. In 2023, there are still 1,000 migrant children separated at the US-Mexico border that cannot be reunited or at the moment are in. There's no way of reuniting them with their parents, and that they've been there for 6 years. And look, Trump walked out of the office. This is a disgraceful thing, and just left this all to Biden, who had to put a task force together to basically work through the slow process. Apparently, there's some 998 children. Now the thing, and they're still separated. With 140, we're in the process of reunification.
Expensive reunification, I'm sure, too.
Homeland Security. That was in 2023. That number may be much better now, but I'd suggest that program may well be cut as well. We'll see. But the thing was, the Americans have this, this connection with their immigrant backgrounds, perhaps more so than Australians.
The Irish, they'll definitely do.
They actually know where we're part of. Generally speaking, Europe they've come from, or Africa that they've come from, or they know their slave backgrounds. If they are Afro-Americans, ditto the Latinos, they know their stories. And ditto white Germans and Swedes and Italians, and, they know their immigrant stories. So they do have sympathy for immigrants.
Yep.
They may not have sympathy, a decent chunk of them may not have sympathy for, shall we say, uninvited arrivals.
Yeah,
but they
certain countries,
broadly speaking, do this. So if Trump fucks this up, or looks like some sort of, I don't know, some dark state-driven trucks pulling up with a dead of night sort of thing, I just think that'll go over really badly too.
I don't.
So this is another really big challenge. Another huge expectation is created. The other thing about border numbers, Joel, is that they are as low as they were. And they were really very high levels in Biden's first 2-3 years, but they are lower now than they were in Trump's last year in 2020. And a large part of that, I suppose, is the fact that everyone knows that Trump's coming, and they will at least suck it, and they will at least sort of wait and see.
Well, it's better than being killed in the streets in your hometown, to be fair, because, you're running from a cartel. And
there's people, look, at the same time, the ethnicity of some of the border crossers is really quite odd. Big Chinese, big Vietnamese groups trying to get through. So it's, catch a one-way flight to Mexico City and work your way up.
And hope for the best. Yeah, no, it is, It's sort of the way it works. There's plenty that can go wrong there too, Joel. How will it all look in a year? A year, I think you're right. I think at this point, like all the egos will break down. There'll be a lot of winners and losers. There'll be a higher stakes appearance to the idea of associating with Trump.
Plenty of people sacked, and plenty of people that have just been given jobs sacked too.
But also like people who look like maybe Elon Musk by then may be sort of like, fairly, sort of like tarnished, sort of outcast person that might say, don't get close to Trump.
Too
you'll
bouncy,
get burned.
Too bouncy for the Donald.
Too dyspraxic, apparently.
Can you?
But like when it comes to,
can you take that fucking Spider-Man suit and stop jumping up and down on my couch?
if you look at the way like they're doing this, they're repealing the whole like Inflation Reduction Act, which has a whole bunch of infrastructure infrastructure sort of policies and bills funded, blah blah blah, which has resulted in bridges, renewable energy plants, and all this sort of stuff. This is all getting repealed. So much of it is happening in red states, whether this is by design or just by consequence. This is happening in red states, and these governors, these senators, they are going to have to face their constituents who are now being fired from projects which they thought they were going to be working on for the next 10 years. There is going to be serious economic repercussions, especially when the fact that Elon there, with his little sort of like fucking, Asperger's wand, starts casting over projects that are in red states. They're all going to be in fucking red states. And this is going to cause a complete fucking nightmare.
Entitlements. I mean,
that's a hot button issue, man.
Yeah,
it is a hot button issue.
I mean, how do you think Zeke old boy is going to go looking at veterans' entitlements? Do you think he would understand the importance of it culturally for the United States?
And also
maybe not. He does have a fairly loose emotional grip on his environment. Let's put it.
He does. But we're also going to see a lot of Trump supporters who are going to get absolutely stung. I saw on Reddit there was someone who had basically had an email from the IRS rescinding an offer of a job because of the hiring freeze executive order was signed. And that was apparently sent to someone's Republican sister who was a big Trump supporter. She has lost her job already.
Well,
because she voted for Trump. She was offered the job.
She was promised a job.
Well,
then that job was taken away.
I don't
because
think that
Donald Trump is now in the White House and brought in a hiring freeze.
So this is just going to make people lose their fucking minds. And this is just the very start. It's the first a few hours. So we need to take these people on their word for what they're saying because a lot of this has come true. And I will just say casually, the whole Project 25 hysteria is right. Stephen Miller, courtesy of the Heritage Foundation and all those other gronks, have written a whole bunch of executive orders. Trump is just like, oh, that sounds interesting, and signs it. And that's that.
Look, I know it could go titch up, but we should, rather than your dark, apocalyptic takes, we should remind, and of course we've seen the power of some of the states. I think 18 states now are taking the Trump administration to court over birthright citizenship.
It's getting a mess.
Like I say, the Illinois governor, he's not going to take any shit. J.B. Pritzker, he's not going to take any shit. I don't think Gavin Newsom's in any mood for taking any shit as well.
No.
People are talking about the death of the Democratic Party. As you say, in 2 years' time, this could all turn around electorally, and of course, over the next 6 to 9 months, the support for Trump basically diminishes or disappears.
But this could be the turning point that changes everything. This could be the bit where Democrats do form a spine, and people like AOC.
He's only got 2 years. He's only got 2 years. If your predicted midterms will be brutal, I tend to agree that it would be unlikely that he would hold the House and or the Senate.
Exactly.
In 2020. So, and it's not even 2 years away. It's not even, 730 sleeps. It's less than that, folks. Yeah. And there are checks and balances. There's the SCOTUS, there's the entire legal system, and then there's the power of the people, right? So there are things to restrain this guy.
And it's worth remembering with the SCOTUS, as insane as they are, if you look at Kavanaugh, who are all like, oh my God, the guy who likes beer and touching girls. If we look at Amy Coney Barrett, who is like the abortion queen, if you look at their judicial records, they are actually kind of smart. They're not the numpty Republican Trump puppets we thought they were. And while they do things that upset us on ideological lines,
they're incredibly
legal,
conservative, but they are constitutional guardians.
Exactly. They are. And that surprises me because when it came to it, there was, for lack of a better term, the liberal media making it out like these were literal puppets. And they've turned against Republicans heaps of times. So
Politics, man. Well, you know, it's the laws of political gravity. What goes up must come down.
Absolutely.
And everyone knows
it's not that cool.
Now, that just about takes us out, Joel, except to say we want to hear from Pete. We want to hear from Pete Evans. What's he said? He'd be lying around the pool of his own ejaculate too, wouldn't he? To the Trumpster was inaugurated.
He's having a fucking great time because Bitcoin's worth a lot of money and you just know how much money he's made from it. That's a very depressing note to go from it. But one of the things that I found very funny is that he started a real posting flurry about Ross Ulbricht, which is the Dread Pirate Roberts, which is the guy from Silk Road.
Silk Road drug distributor, yes.
And that's where he gets his ketamine from, for sure. 100%. He's DMT, he's ayahuasca. Yeah, that's where it's from. Express Post from Guy and
Mohawk at the moment too. Or last time I looked, he had the Mohawk on, and it did look like he'd gone even a little bit more alternate than what we would normally expect from him.
Well, I think he's just trying to be more like his hero, Elon Musk. And I tell you what, they've got one thing in common, and I don't think I need to tell you what that is. Anyway.
All right. Well, that takes us out. Look at the time, Joel. We've put in nearly 2 hours on this, and hope our listeners are not too concerned. Like I said, stick to your values, and that the worm will turn. The planet will turn. Planet Earth will turn.
It's a couple of years, mate. And look, when it comes down to it, this will be one of those interesting things in history. And all you'll ever think of is, oh, man, those 3 years, the Conditional Release Program was fucking great. That was a really good couple of years to that podcast that I...
Until we get arrested.
And then frog-lashed into love.
Just disappear. All right, that takes us out. Good on you, listeners. We'll catch up with you next time. We're actually going to do a bit on some really ugly social media stuff around auditing and pedo patrols. Really ugly. And we've had a bit of help in that from one of our listeners and great friends in law enforcement. So we look forward to bringing that program to you next week.
It's going to be good.
Until then, we'll see you.
Thanks, guys.
I don't think I ever want to talk to any of those people.
Fuck me, you guys are bastards.